Hello everybody, happy Monday, good morning. We are going live today with Michali. We are back to our Monday lives and we'll be answering a question or a few questions that were asked on the AMA on the topic of body image. Hi Michali. Hello Milka. Let me just add Michali 1 second. Hello Warrior. Hello, I hope to win. Good morning everybody. Hello 7899. Hello Michali.
Hi.
We don't see your face yet, or at least I don't. Now I do. Okay. Hi.
Amazing. Hello. How are you?
I'm good. I'm so happy to be back.
Same here. Welcome back. I know, oftentimes we need vacations from our vacations.
Yeah.
But I hope your transition time was going well.
Totally. Yes. I mean, I guess vacation from your vacation. Yeah, I definitely came back way more tired, which is so ironic because you think you'd rest up on vacation and come back rested, but totally not.
Yeah.
So
Mm-hmm.
tired. But it was definitely I think it was a mental vacation. I needed to technically I could take this type of vacation anytime. I just have to say I'm not doing A, B, C, and D. And then I miss it so much. And then I'm this is why I do what I do. And then I'm really happy to be back.
Yeah.
But no, thankfully, it was beautiful, but I'm so happy to be back. I really missed it. And that was so nice for me to see. So
We
definitely.
missed you, Faye. We all missed you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. It means a lot. It means a lot. I missed me. I happen to be I'm somebody that loves routine and loves and thank God I created a life which was where I pretty much love what I do. And so I really did miss it. I wasn't so sad to be back. I'm that doesn't mean that I didn't have a great time, but I was I'm just happy to have my own food and my own bed and my morning routine. So yeah, very happy to be back.
I so get that.
Did I notice a mug that has your logo on it? Let me see now.
Ari got this for me as a gift, and then there's a recipe in the back that he made up.
That's adorable. That is adorable. It's a fake recipe or it's a real recipe?
It's a fake recipe. It's one dash powerhouse creativity. He has a whole thing,
Adorable. Oh my goodness. That is precious. Okay. I love it. But it's beautiful. I like the logo situation.
I know, we're matching. Oh my goodness.
Matching.
It's so funny because I just recently had to figure out how to take a lot of different things out of my logo just to get the picture itself, because I'm going to be speaking to my kids' classes about what I do for a living.
That's funny.
And so they're preschool age. So how do you explain to preschoolers that your mother is a sex therapist and relationship therapist,
That's going to be
so I made the magnets. I took everything out other than just the picture of the logo itself, but it'll be cute. We'll be talking about mindfulness and stuff like that. But
amazing. Oh my goodness. That's adorable. I want to see a recording of that. Is it going to be video?
I should probably record it.
You really should.
Yes, it'll be fun.
Face, she's I'm more than that.
Exactly. Well, she doesn't know. We're gonna teach my kids age appropriate,
of course.
things,
I just
but
big mouth and she's precious and she'll definitely use it,
she definitely knows I'm a therapist, and I think she just knows that means teaching people different skills and talking about how to be friends with people, things like that. We keep it there. Feelings, talk about feelings.
I'm not concerned. It would be awesome to then show it to my young kids.
Okay. Well, I guess what I can do is I can ask one of the teachers, not the kids, to video it, and I can post it on my Instagram for those of you that are interested. And I'll just, block out every kid's face,
Yeah. Anyways, okay, let's hit the questions. So I added late because I was going through 100 AMAs, questions that people asked, and I was seeing if any of them had to do with body image. And there was one that I couldn't find because when you do the anonymous AMAs, you don't get to see after you open them, there's no way to reclose them if you want to answer them and get back to them later, which is a little bit annoying on the anonymous Q&A situation. But somebody also asked about if they have acne, they have a lot of pimples on their face, how can they how can they also like work on their body image or like how they look or something like that. So I wanted to add that one verbally because I
That's
couldn't find it again.
so weird because literally Ari and I were talking about acne in teenage years
Wow,
last night. That is like
so funny.
so
That's
random.
so funny.
So random.
Yeah, so I
Yeah.
actually made the cover for this live, and I have your picture there, and I titled it like how do I improve my body image, and then in parentheses I wrote weight gain and acne.
And
So I just want
acne.
that questioner to know that like I did not forget. I literally spent like 5 minutes going through all the questions. I couldn't find it.
Wow.
That's it. And then I did find another one which has to do with like weight gain. So I figured that that's very, it's very
Yeah.
conversation
Just
about
for those of you who don't know Faye personally, this is like the real her. Like she's this earnest human being who's going to spend however much time it's going to take to make sure that people feel good. Just putting that out there. Okay, so yeah, you can
yeah,
continue.
thanks. Yeah. No, yeah, I'm not good at putting on a show. So what you see is pretty much what you get.
Which is wonderful.
Yeah.
So I have like the first, I think you posted the second question later. So I have the first one. I can just like refresh this and
Okay.
then do the second one. Okay, perfect. Okay, so the first one is feeling incredibly distressed about my body weight and how I feel in my stomach area because I'm overweight. I feel like there's a tight band around my stomach and I just can't get my mind off of it. Ruminating about how I feel and terrified of food. Have OCD. Distractions many times a week. Feel helpless. Talk to doc.
Yeah, I wasn't sure
And
what
then the next,
like talk to doc.
I'm not sure if that means she spoke to her doctor
Maybe.
or had not like triggered this, or she's speaking about, medication. I don't know. I wasn't sure where
Right. I
this
wasn't
question
sure
was
what that
going.
could be. It could be like she spoke to like it sounds maybe like it's not a medical issue. I mean, potentially there could be medical stuff, but like that's not what the question is. To me, the way I interpreted it was that this is like an emotional, distressing issue. Like that's what she wants us to address. Like address
Yeah.
it from like a body image and like a OCD physical discomfort / emotional discomfort standpoint, which I think is very
Yeah.
much connected. I think that many times when we talk about body image, we don't talk about OCD, and I think they really go hand in hand. So I really appreciate that she brought that up, whether you have classic
Yeah.
OCD or you're diagnosed with OCD or not. But like people that struggle with their body image can have a lot of tinges of OCD within that. And I think that's like very common. So I think they go really hand in hand.
Yes. Very common. And then the second question is so overweight and so sick of it. I'm on strict quote unquote diet for a long time and not listing weight.
Losing, I
I
think
guess
she meant, right?
losing
Yeah.
weight. But if I eat more than my body is used to, which I promise is little, if only people would
Only
know,
people would know,
then
right?
I gain weight.
Yeah.
Okay. So
I have so much
I
to
have
say.
so much to
Me
say
too.
about this.
Me too. Me too. So you go first, and we're gonna try to
Yeah.
cap this at like another 15 minutes, or like really 10
Okay.
minutes, ideally for this conversation. But like, yeah,
We need
definitely. That's
5 hours
I
for
know.
this. So I'm actually going to do a little bit of self-disclosure
Yeah.
here, just because I've shared in the past about my chronic illnesses. One of my illnesses actually makes me gain weight despite what I put in my body.
Yeah.
So I could be eating salads for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, even though I do not advise doing that, and I will still gain weight. So there's nothing I can do about it. So girl, I feel you. Like
Yeah.
I think it is so hard to really learn how to love a bigger body while feeding it and nourishing it in a loving, healthy, nutritious way, when your body doesn't fit the societal standards of beauty. And Faye, you and I have talked about this, privately many, many times, where there's this idea of like health at every size and intuitive eating, which I'm a huge fan of. I completely belong to those communities. I love it. I think it's so healthy. And at the same time, I think that, and, okay, I'm going to take a step back a minute. Anytime society is out of balance into like one extreme, oftentimes there's this big reaction that goes to this other extreme, and it kind of like Rambam style, the hope is that naturally society will fall somewhere in the middle. But the problem is that if you're living at a time in either one of the extremes, then you're not getting healthy messaging around important things, right? You're not getting exposed to healthy values and priorities. And so I think that while a lot of people are kind of pushing back at this like idea, this beauty standard that exists in our society, that thinness is the only form of beauty. I think on the other extreme is like this like anti eating healthy idea of like if someone wants to lose weight, then all of a sudden that they have some pathology.
Right. They're doing
I
that.
don't think it's
Right.
exactly, and I don't think it's a bad thing if someone says, you know what, for me, in my body, the way my body feels and what works for me, I think I would be healthier, emphasis on the healthy part, not the thin part,
Mm-hmm.
if I was at a certain weight. Or, you know what, I would feel better if I could wear these clothes that I know can fit my body in a healthy way,
Mm-hmm.
right? I have no problem with that. But I do think that being on a strict diet is not healthy. And this is kind of, I'm answering the second question first.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason being on a strict diet isn't healthy is because our minds were never wired to restrict that significantly.
Mm-hmm.
When we have a bunch of food in front of us, right? If we're making a choice out of health and we're saying like, you know what, I want to eat this, you know, avocado because it's delicious and it feels so good in my body, then you eat the avocado, right? If there's pasta in front of you and you say this is delicious and it feels good in my body,
Mm-hmm.
then eat the pasta, right? Like it doesn't have to be an either or kind of thing. Now, when we restrict ourselves, then even if we don't have OCD, then all these really unhelpful thoughts kind of come into our minds, right? Where then we start to develop this negative relationship with food. So now, not only are we dealing with food as something that needs to be nourishing our bodies, now we're dealing with food in a way where it's like me versus you.
Mm-hmm.
And it becomes this really negative, heartbreaking, tragic dance between us and
Mm-hmm.
food that's super unhelpful. And then the third thing then we're navigating is the body
Right.
image. So I think that if we eliminated the strict diet piece, then at least we just have two things to deal with instead of
Mm-hmm.
three things to deal with.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the way to go about eliminating diet, because like I know I'm sure many people are just like, well, Michali, how do you do that without eating ice cream all day,
Mm-hmm.
you know? And it's really learning to trust your body sensations. Like
Mm-hmm.
kind of a little what I'm going to be talking about to the kids in my kids'
Yeah.
classes, like learning what different foods feel like in your body, like
Mm-hmm.
just on a sensory level, and asking yourself, does this feel comfortable for me? For me personally, if I eat ice cream from time to time, it doesn't feel so good in my body. I might still choose to eat the ice
Mm-hmm.
cream, but it doesn't always feel good in my body. Pasta feels amazing on my
Mm-hmm.
body. So I eat lots of
Mm-hmm.
pasta and I own it and I'm proud of it and I enjoy it
Mm-hmm.
and I trust myself and my body with it. And it's totally a positive thing,
Mm-hmm.
right? So I think like understanding how different foods impact your body, and it's very personal and unique to you. So
Mm-hmm.
no one can tell you this food is bad for you because it's so
Right.
customized.
Right. We're so
Um,
complex. Like that's why
we're
like no
so
diet you'll
complex.
ever find will like work for everybody. There's not a chance.
Yeah.
I love that you're
Yes,
saying that. And
exactly.
I just want to underscore that, like, I think that, like, you know, you're in a super healthy place. And, like, I think that, you know, I don't, it doesn't sound like this question, and we're talking about the second question now, where this person's restricting, is in a healthy place with food and eating and her body.
Right.
And I want to hold space for that. And I also want to, like, underscore the importance of, I don't think it could be done from a conversation. Even if we spoke about this for 5 hours, I don't think that it would be
Yeah.
enough to help this person get to a healthy place with food. I think that this can be a journey that can take, you know, hopefully just months and not years.
Years. It
But
could
like
take
it could take
years.
years,
Yeah.
exactly. And that doesn't mean something's wrong with you or you're super broken. It just means that this is like, it's just unlearning things probably from back in the day when you were like maybe 2, 3, 4, or 5 years old. And I think that it really takes I think it needs a support team. So it needs not just a therapist, but even more importantly, and side by side, I would say, a nutritionist that's, you know, works from a perspective of intuitive eating. And, you know, and that doesn't mean that I love that you said that. Like, it doesn't mean you don't want to lose weight. You know, you can want something, and that doesn't mean that you're going to act on it in an unhealthy way. And
Yeah.
I think this questioner is saying that like she's eating so little, if people would only know, like that doesn't sound healthy, and also that's never going to get you to your goal. That means that like something's probably wrong with or malfunctioning with your metabolism that probably was potentially triggered by diets or some other issue. And the only way to fix that is to eat more and to heal your body, because healthy bodies function best and drop the weight that they don't want to have and hold on to the weight that they need for some other reason. So like, you know, it sounds like this questioner reached out in a moment of like realizing that what she's doing is not working. And I want to like,
Yeah.
I kind of like want to hug you and say like, yes, like amazing that you got to this place, that you realize that. And now from this place, until now, you think it's working and you want to continue because you're like, it might be working. But now that you kind of hopefully realize that this is not working, what do you have to lose by trying something different, right? Like the worst that will happen is that doesn't either work, but at least you'll like hopefully have more peace and serenity in your life.
For sure.
And yeah.
For sure. And you can be, by the way, you can be anorexic and look overweight.
Correct.
So you can have a larger frame and internally your body's functioning like you're anorexic. And so if you were to be treated for an eating disorder, it would be called anorexia if you're eating below a healthy caloric intake. Yeah. And I love that you're starting with where this person is at. I think, a few things. Definitely therapeutic support. And I think also, and this is kind of tying into the first question, I think really only exposing yourself and surrounding yourself with people that are giving you healthy messages around this. So like the first questioner asked like about their stomach. And I'm a big believer, like, you don't have to love every single part of you don't have to like every single part of your body, but you have to love it. Like, meaning, like, just like think about like your loved ones or your friends or anyone, right? They might have parts of them. They may have parts of them that you're not like, oh my God, I love that quality or whatever. This is something that like is just so my thing, right? Like you can say like, no, there might be parts of someone that I'm not so into, but I love the person and I'm never going to speak negatively about the person. Yeah, it's a package deal and I'm going to fiercely protect that person, right? And I think it really starts, especially if there is an OCD component, it really starts with learning how to manage your thoughts around it and learning how to protect yourself from yourself. So anytime a toxic or self-abusive thought pops into our head, starting to defend ourselves to that voice, like recognizing that it's an external voice that comes from society or family or culture or religion or media, and starting to talk back to the voice and saying like, I'm sorry, you cannot talk to me that way. I understand you're not okay with that, but but you cannot talk to me that way. And just like a very funny story, I was in a waiting room. Someone learning to work on self and body image first will probably help the subsequent steps 100%. Yeah, when you work on your sense of self, then it helps with like nourishing your body, right? And learning what that actually means and doing that more intuitively. But I was in this like waiting room and this guy comes up to me and says, congratulations and Merry Christmas, which I'm like, I look so Jewish, but okay. So I'm like, thanks, happy holidays to you. And I'm like, what do you mean? And he said, when are you having your baby? And I said, oh, this isn't a baby, this is fat. And he said,
you never told
okay.
me this, Michali.
I think I said this to you before. But then he proceeds. Like, so it's not enough that he's like mistaking me for a pregnant woman. But and first of all, it was so empowering to be like, no, it's just fat. And I didn't suck my stomach in. Okay. I did not. I
would have paid anything to be there. I would probably have been like a dater to this person. But yeah.
Oh my God, the receptionist was like rolling her eyes. But then he proceeded to say, my daughter has a few kids and she's tried every diet and nothing's worked. It's so hard. So then I looked at him very calmly and I said, oh, I'm not trying to get rid of this. And like Dafka hold and like embrace my stomach. And I'm just like, I'm not looking to get rid of it. I'm loving this part of my body just as it is. I don't want to change a thing about it. And he just looked at me and he did not know what to say to that. And I have to tell you, it was so empowering. Like I didn't feel any bullshit. I didn't feel any shame. I was just like, this is me. And this is how God created me. And I know I'm doing the right thing by nourishing and loving and taking care of my body and protecting it and accepting it as is. It doesn't mean I have to be like, oh my God, this is the most beautiful part of me. Like I could appreciate what it gives me. I could protect it fiercely and I can own it. I can own it. And there's so much freedom when you get to that side. I've been there. I've been in the place of like, oh my God, this is so embarrassing. I'm never gonna show my face in public again. Right. But I think that like, let's say with the stomach thing, if you also look like you're 9 months pregnant or whatever, right? Like I think learning how to speak first to those voices
Mm-hmm.
inside. And then when you're getting into that habit, you're naturally going to start protecting yourself from real
Mm-hmm.
humans who have, really not appropriate things to say about your body. No one should be commenting about your body.
Mm-hmm.
But then I also think like, um, really exposing yourself to people that can give you the words. Like there's this, I don't know how to pronounce her name, but like Alicia McCarville or something. She's this like body positive woman
Mm-hmm.
who's a larger woman, and she totally owns it.
Yeah.
And she takes care of her body.
Wow.
Like she legit takes care of
I feel
her
like I know what
body.
you're talking
And
from Instagram.
what?
I feel like
From
I've seen her.
Instagram.
Yeah.
Yeah. And she's
Mm-hmm.
amazing. And like someone like that, where it's just like she's taking, it's not like she's ignoring her body. She's
Mm-hmm.
taking care of her body. She
Yeah.
owns her body. She loves her body. And it's just like having that, and also she protects her body from people that say inappropriate things.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that like learning from other people, whoever that may be,
Yeah.
and borrowing their words and using that with yourself
Mm-hmm.
can really jumpstart this process of learning to embrace your larger frame
Mm-hmm.
and your tub. And then when you start to develop this protectiveness around yourself, you're going to naturally want to nurture
Mm-hmm.
that part of yourself. So
Mm-hmm.
you're not going to want to like neglect it by starving it. You're going to want to take care of it.
Right.
And that is a huge, powerful shift. And then you're free. And then you're
Right.
free.
Right. I love that. I think that though not everybody can get to that place. Like I think that there's like two different paths, right? Like sometimes you have to first start nourishing yourself, even if it's the last thing you want to do. And then you can get to the place of like really accepting yourself and like loving it, you know? So I feel like the second questioner, which was about like starving herself, like I don't want you to work right now necessarily on like loving yourself, because I feel like that's too of a hard, like you're still so like you're emotionally and physically starved, it sounds like, and like you don't even have enough capacity. Like when you're in a state of restriction, you don't even have, your thoughts are like against you. You know what I'm saying? Like you can't battle
Yeah.
with, they're anorexic thoughts essentially. And until you're nourished, your brain is nourished, your body's nourished, you don't want to like even have a fight kind of. So like you kind of would just want to be like, okay, you could say whatever you want, but I need to go through the motions of eating like a normal, healthy person. And like for that, I think that you need the support of, let's say, a nutritionist, an excellent nutritionist that's, works with eating disorders, and a therapist, etc. And I think that for somebody that's in a place, maybe the first questioner, where she's not restricting, hopefully, in a place where it's just more about like the thoughts that are
Yeah.
really, and the OCD, and really being miserable, which I'm not trying to minimize that. That's like tremendous torture. And I'm holding space for that, and I have compassion for that. But at that point, I would say, of course, working with a therapist, potentially with a nutritionist, if you feel like your eating habits can be improved in a healthy way. And but really working on that emotional piece, on that self-worth piece. I just want to like underscore that, like, for somebody that's in the throes of an eating disorder, now's not the time. So I say, it sounds so counterintuitive, but I would say like now is not the ideal time to work on your self-image and your this and your that, because you're not even being fed in a way that your brain can manage that. And you need to first work on like
Yeah.
the behavioral piece. Obviously, we always can say we could do both of them together, but I like to say like, okay, priority is the behavioral piece, the physical piece. What are your thoughts on that?
So I think it really depends. Well, first of all, with the first questioner, I think if they do have OCD, then working with an OCD specialist like Faye's mom would be really, really helpful, because you'd be surprised like how many body image stuff can stem just from OCD thoughts.
Yeah.
But in terms of the second questioner, I would agree with you. I mean, I think that if a person is in a physically unhealthy place, then the behavioral piece has to come first, right? Like we always want to emphasize safety first. But if they are in a safe place, meaning they're not on the verge of fainting every second, they're not blacking out, like they have like basic safety. Then what I find is that with people either with full-blown eating disorders or disordered eating, oftentimes they can't get to the behavior without a mind shift. So I would like amend that a little bit. It depends
Depends where
where the
you are on the
person
spectrum.
is.
Yeah. No,
Yeah, it
totally get
really,
that.
because I've worked with people where like it would be so counterintuitive to be like nourish your body. It
Right.
would be like, yeah, I'm not doing that. It's kind of like saying to me, like, Michali, like get 8 hours of sleep a night. And I'm like, that sounds
Yeah.
amazing. And I would love that. But I need
Not
to
possible.
watch my show before I go to sleep. And then it's like 12 o'clock and then I'm not getting 8 hours of sleep a night, you know?
Right.
So I think it really depends where the person is in their journey.
Yeah.
But 100%, and I want to emphasize what you just said because I don't want anyone to misinterpret what I'm saying. If a person is not safe, or like meaning their body is starving
Hmm.
and is not getting their basic nutrients, and you're having a hard time getting through your day, that is considered your body not being in a
Yeah.
healthy and safe place.
Yeah,
So
that's kind of
then
how
that's
I
when
understood
behavior is going to change.
that second question. Like that is how I understood it.
Yeah.
Like, doesn't sound like the person's in a healthy place physically. If they're saying that people would be shocked to know how little they're eating, um, you know, like that doesn't sound. You know what I'm saying? And they're dieting and restricting. Like that sounds pretty severe
Yeah.
to me.
Yeah.
So yeah, so I definitely appreciate that though, and yeah, like it depends, you know, and if it's more about, yeah, if it's you know, definitely there's a spectrum. It's not one end or the other. So definitely appreciate that. I want to make sure we address that first question as well. So the question was struggling with OCD, with body image. And I think that, yes, like you said, I think addressing the OCD with a therapist, like I think that many times it's less about the, the body image and more about the OCD. And I
Yeah.
think that they go hands in hand, and sometimes it's, you know, in a sense, what you, the only thing you could do something about is the thoughts, and the thoughts are the, a lot of times, the obsessive thoughts, right? Like we can, in order to address body image, we don't, or to help our body image, what we tend to want to do is fix our body image. And you know, there's some things that sometimes we could do, most likely it's in vain. But I think that the real way to address body image issues is to change our thinking about the body image issues. So it's like distracting yourself, getting busy with something else, saying, you know, these thoughts can be here. I don't have to give you attention. Yes, it could feel tight around my stomach, and I still can go on with the rest of my day and watch a good show or get involved in something that I love to do for work or whatever it is. Obviously, you can also dress in a way that feels comfortable for you, so not to give into like society standards of like you have to wear this or you have to wear that. Like if you feel most comfortable in something else, then definitely you do you, and not, you know, like kowtow to that type of pressure,
Yeah.
because feeling comfortable in your body is important. I think another thing, like for body image, is like to really own when you do have a good body image moment. Like I don't even want to say a good body image day, but I think that like the best, one of the best things to do, I was thinking of more recently, is like when you're having a good body image moment, or day ideally, but like usually it's not a whole day, you know? So it's like, let's say even like a good hour or two, maybe you're in the middle of a jog and you're like, wow, I could jog, and like my stomach's not bloated and I have the energy. Like really hold on to that moment, because that moment, you can like pull that moment up the next time you're having a struggle and be like, when you're having a struggle, the worst thing is the thought of, I'm always going to feel this way. I'm always going to hate my body. I'm always going to A, B, C, and D, right? But if you can like have that like memory kind of like frozen, and you're like, no, 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 2 days ago I was doing a jog, or 2 days ago I looked in the mirror and I looked really hot. Then you're like, you know, that thought all of a sudden loses its power. It's like, no, right now I'm having
Yeah.
a bad body image moment, but like that doesn't mean that I'm always going to feel this way. So I think
By
that
the
that,
way,
yeah,
when that guy said that comment to me, I was having a good body image
I
moment.
love it. I love it, Michali. I love it.
But
Meaning,
you know what?
even when he said it, you're like this. You felt so empowered.
No,
Oh,
I started off the day being like,
oh,
oh, I feel,
oh.
there's a pep in my step. And then he said the thing and I'm like, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? But I
That's
love
great.
what you said in terms of like holding on to that. And I also think that when we are struggling, in this case with our stomachs,
Mhm.
then to like Davka, get some lotion and massage your
Mhm.
stomach, or take a bath and make sure to like really clean your
Mhm.
stomach. Like, not that it needs extra
Right.
cleaning, but just like to like really
Nurture it.
nurture it, like
Mhm.
specifically when it's at its
Yeah.
worst for you, whatever
Mhm.
that means for you. Because it's like as if you're taking care of a sick child, right?
Mhm.
Like that's when I think also it can be really powerful to show it love. And I love what you said about the clothing, because I think that's like an underrated thing that doesn't get enough like discussed,
Mhm.
where like so many times we wear clothes that suck in our stomachs, and that's actually a health issue.
Mhm.
If you speak to any pelvic floor specialist, they'll tell you do not suck in your
Mhm.
stomach. um, um, and there's so many issues with that.
Mhm.
But I think
Suck
also
in your
if you
stomach
need to,
means like hold in your stomach, like hold yourself in. Wow.
yeah, you know,
Yeah.
and then like to suck it in, which a lot of women are taught from a very young age, suck it in, suck it in.
Hmm.
And I think also, I don't know about you, but I need to think in my day, you
Hmm.
know, but I'm imagining the people listening to this like also need to
Yeah.
think in their day.
Yeah.
And when we don't have enough air traveling to our heads, it
Hmm.
kind of makes thinking really difficult.
Yes.
So that's another plug-in for wearing clothes that fit you properly,
Exactly.
and you're not wearing your goal
Hmm.
clothes. The clothes that fit you are your goal clothes.
Yes.
And really just loving and again, you don't have to like every part of your body, but just nurturing it in a way
Hmm.
that honors where it's at today.
Exactly.
Allowing yourself to say to yourself and act on this that I am a human being and I have a basic human right
Hmm.
to eat food
Hmm.
today multiple times a day
Hmm.
based on what my body is asking for. I have a right as a human being to clothe myself properly, right? These are basic rights that we have as human beings.
Exactly.
And so I think that also is an act of self-love and self-care, right? That can go a long way.
Exactly. And when you look in the mirror, another thing you can do is like focus on before you look in the mirror, you tell yourself what you want to see. So like that's not like, oh, I want to see a
I
skinny stomach if
love that.
not like skinny, but it's like I think it goes like this. Your sound travels faster than sight. So what you hear something faster than you see it. So you're hearing your voices in your head before you actually see yourself in the mirror. So if your thoughts before you look in the mirror are like, oh my God, I'm gonna see my nose again, or I'm gonna see my this or my that, whatever feature, or my pimples. If that's your thought, like, oh, I can't look in the mirror, I'm gonna see my pimples, that's the first thing that you're gonna see and most likely feel uncomfortable about. But if your thoughts are like, I'm going to see my beautiful jawline or I'm going to see my gorgeous hair, then that's what you're going to see.
I
So if you change
love
your
that. I
thoughts, you're
love it.
actually changing what you're actually seeing because your thoughts sound travels faster than your sight, works faster. So I think that's like
I
another
love that.
little skill that you could use. I want to address the pimple thing because I know we're almost out of time,
Oh,
but I just want
yes.
to make sure.
Yes.
You said you and Ari discussed it, so I want to hear what you guys came up with.
Yeah, just one last thing before the pimple. There's an amazing book called More Than a Body. It's
Mhm.
written by twin sisters. I
I,
highly recommend
I
it.
read it. I read most of it. Yeah, I have what to say on it. I don't know if we should discuss it now.
Okay, we're gonna do, well, God
I'll
willing,
do a
we're
live.
gonna make a space for
No,
book
no hate on
clubs.
the book. I didn't finish it, but I really read it because it was like over like the holidays when I got it. I think it was like sickest time. I think I asked you for like good books. I bought a whole stack of books that you recommended. I was reading most of it. It was like a lot of validation. I found like the whole thing was validation, but I didn't find any skills. And I was just like, come on, this is a fat book.
It's
We need
something
skills. Yeah,
practical.
I didn't.
Right, right.
I found like tons of studies, tons of validation, tons of like people, feeling
Yeah,
heard. And I was like, this is beautiful, but like, I was like
yeah.
expecting more something like tangible that I could,
I,
actually,
I so get that. I think they're scientists, so they're going to talk about the research
right,
rather than like
right,
not necessarily the practicalities. And I
right.
so get like anytime I read a book, I wish like I can convert it into like a
Yeah.
workbook, you know?
Yeah. But even this book, like I probably would have had a hard time converting it into a workbook because I was like constantly I was like, maybe the next chapter, maybe the next chapter. And again,
Oh,
it wasn't a bad book. It was a great book for someone that loves to read like research. I happen to not be that person. I'm like, give me the to-dos and I'll either do them or I won't, but like at
yeah,
least I'll feel like, I was taught something. Or like I guess
yeah.
you're taught if you like read research. But yeah, no hate on the book. If
I
but I
So
think it's
I still get that. I happen to also like more practical books, but I think that for some people, they don't have any of the ideas that we're presenting in their minds.
mm,
And so they need a starting
right.
place. And sometimes, like, one way to talk back to OCD is with
Yeah,
facts.
yeah.
And then it kind of like confuses the mind and shakes things
Mm,
up a bit. So, but like, I'm
mm,
still with you in terms of like the practical steps. It's not going to necessarily be like the kind of thing that's going to
right.
give you practical steps.
That's what you have Mammy Cook
Um,
for, basically. We give a lot of practical steps. So tell me about
and
pimples.
then,
What do we do about
okay,
pimples
so
for the
pimples.
them? Yeah.
So we really were just empathizing with the plight of pimples, because again, this is like a societal beauty
Mm-hmm.
standard, right? To have like a completely clear face. And oh, this is like such hashgacha because I actually have a huge pimple right over here. I don't know if anyone
Yeah.
can see it.
It
It
looks
might
like a
not look
beauty. It looks
huge.
like a beauty mark to me.
Oh, like a big beauty mark. Okay, but no, I actually this pimple's been driving me crazy.
Yeah.
But like it's big. You just can't see it
Okay.
on the screen.
Yeah.
But I think that's how the conversation started. Um,
Yeah.
but I think we were just holding space and for
Mm-hmm.
compassion because it just like I think it's the same thing as being a bigger size than the standard size that our society
Mhm.
says is standard.
Mhm.
It's like all made up. It's all just a
Mhm.
construct that someone decided, oh, this is the beauty standard.
Mhm.
And I think what's so hard about pimples is like kind of similar to what the second questioner said, which is like, you can't necessarily do much about
Mhm.
it. Like, there are cleansers, there are medications. You can't go on birth control. I mean, I'm not a doctor, but like there are things you can do. But ultimately, if your skin doesn't respond, there's really nothing you can
Mhm.
do. Um, and then it comes down to embracing yourself and your body just as it is and
Mhm.
saying to yourself, okay, I wish I had skin that was clear. I don't like having pimples, but that doesn't give me license to then abuse myself over
Mhm.
my pimples.
Mhm.
And if I can see, if I can start to train myself to see past them and to look at my eye shape and my eye color
Mhm.
and appreciate that, or the shape of my lips or
Mhm.
my hair or my eyebrows or whatever it
Mhm.
is, and starting to train yourself to see past that, I think that can be really healing. And I love what you said about like the sound before sight.
Yeah.
I think it's a very similar thing
Totally. Yeah.
here, where it's like telling yourself, okay, instead of looking at the zits, look at the
Mhm.
eyes,
Exactly.
um,
Exactly.
you know,
Yeah.
and nurturing that part of yourself.
Yeah.
Like, I don't, again, I'm not a doctor, so I don't know if this is like a good thing or a bad thing to like put extra lotion on your face. But if like you're having a hard
Mhm.
day, like literally like making nice to your face, like
Mhm.
holding your face and
Mhm.
making nice to it and saying like, you are loved.
Mhm.
I love you,
Mhm.
and nurturing that part of
Yeah.
you that is feeling really insecure, just like you would to a kid.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. No, I really like that. Also, like, if this is a teenager that is asking this question, like, I would say, like, probably you can tell yourself, I mean, probably doesn't sound too like promising, but I like to say this too shall pass. Like, and I feel like, I don't want to tell that to somebody that's struggling with being overweight, because like, maybe the struggle will pass. I don't want to give guarantees on like, people losing weight, gaining weight, whatever that is. But I feel like it's very common for people in their teenage years, as their hormones are changing, to have acne on their face.
Yeah.
And it usually does not last forever. Like, that's just, I think, like pretty much like proven over time and time again.
Yeah.
So like telling yourself that like this too shall pass, and how can I learn to like love myself despite this? Um, and also, like, something I remind myself always is like, I am my own worst critic, like with everything, with every single thing, like people are insecure about what they say, about what they look like, about their hair, about their this, about that, like whatever you're insecure about, like you see it 100x what anybody else does. So like
Yeah.
if it's so terrible to you, it's like, think of the 100th of that. That's what other people see. And if it's not even so terrible to you, but you're just obsessing about it, then realize that other people don't even see it. So like, it's really between you and your mind.
And
Um,
no one ultimately
no one
cares.
cares.
Like no
Yeah,
one's going to
for sure
sleep
not.
saying like, oh my gosh, Michali had that huge pimple on her face. I don't know. I can't fall asleep because that's all I can think about. Right. Like no
Exactly.
one is doing that. No one ultimately, for better, for worse, no one
No one
cares.
cares, right?
I want to just add, in terms of the teenage piece, being a teenager with acne is really
Yeah.
hard. And because you're trying so hard to fit in. That's your job. That's your developmental task as a teenager,
Mm-hmm.
is to develop and cultivate a sense of belonging and identity. And so I think that if you have, let's say, extra acne, right, like beyond the
Mm-hmm.
couple of pimples, right, that can be a really tough place to be. And I just want to like hold
Yeah.
compassion
Yeah.
for teenagers,
Yeah.
because it just sucks. It really sucks. But I can say that um, the people that like you and care about you and see you as you, those are the people that you want to surround yourself with.
Mm-hmm.
The people that are going to see the acne and be like, oh, she has acne, I'm not going to be friends with her,
Mm-hmm.
or he has acne, I'm not going to be friends with him. Those are people you don't want to even hang out with.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and I know it's easy for me to say as
Mm-hmm.
an adult. I don't consider myself an adult, but yeah, it's easier for me to say as an adult who's not a teenager anymore.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm still 16, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Um,
Totally.
but I
Yeah.
think that
Yeah. But it's so funny that you're saying that. Not funny in like a funny way, but like, I didn't even think that, like, oh, that you would have a harder time with like friends because of acne. Like, is that a thing? Is that like a thing today? Like, to me, that's like
Absolutely.
like, tell me.
It
I'm
was
thinking back to
then
my
too.
high school days, the most popular kids had faces of acne. I was not the most popular and I had clear skin. So like, I don't know. The
That
times are just
formula
not in
didn't
my
work for
favor.
you.
I'm sorry.
That formula did not work for you.
Yeah, like I'm telling you, the times always change like in the worst way for me, of course.
Right.
No, but for real,
Yeah,
like
so it
I'm literally
can.
thinking of like the most popular kids, faces of acne. They were on Accutane, like honestly. Um,
Yeah,
yeah,
but that's right. I think every place is different, I think though that
yeah,
it can definitely impact a person's like sense of belonging and like I don't, this is not a word, but like
yeah,
wantability, like ability or
I hear
whatever.
that.
But the last piece of guidance that I would give to this teenager, like specifically the teenager, is to act as if. Like
Mm,
if acne is making you feel insecure,
mm,
ask yourself, what would I do or how would I act differently if I
mm,
did not have acne, and then do that thing,
mm,
even with the
mm,
acne, right? So if you were to like invite someone over to sleep over for Shabbos, right? But like you're feeling self-conscious with your acne, then ask yourself, well, would I invite them over without it? And if the
right.
answer is yeah, then you march up to that person and say, hey, you want to come to my house for
Hmm.
Shabbos, right? Like,
I love
like
that.
learning
Yeah,
to act as
yeah.
if,
Not to
I
give in
think can
to,
also
yeah.
really boost confidence. And then to remind yourself that if anyone has an obnoxious reaction to you, they're
Hmm.
not someone that you want to have anything to do with anyway.
Hmm.
And that's not a prediction about like how likable or okay you will be in the future. Like
Exactly.
high school you, teenage you is not going to be you as an
Hmm.
adult. People constantly
Yeah.
change. And so if you don't have a sense of belonging at school because people are obnoxious, just know,
Hmm.
God willing, you will have a sense of belonging. And you can also cultivate relationships outside of school too.
Hmm. I love
That's
that. And
everything I have to
I
say
think
about
I love it. I think the act as if piece also goes to like the question about the feeling uncomfortable and their body size, and maybe not like the especially the questioner with like the OCD and the feeling like a tight band, like whatever you would do if you didn't have that feeling, that sensation, that weight, whatever it is, like that's what you got to do. Like that's your medicine,
yeah.
that's your homework. You do,
Yeah.
like act as if you didn't have this issue. As much as you can. Obviously, it's all easier said than done, but like really, that's your homework. That's your goal. Um, yeah, I think that we like really hammered this one in. My schedule is gonna pay me back for this one, but it was so good, and I'm so thankful that we did it. It was like a good welcome back. This has been amazing, Michali. Thank you so much for sharing, and yeah, thank you
Thank
everyone
you,
for tuning
Faye.
in. And yes, we will see each other next week.
We'll see
Yes.
you next week. I love bouncing ideas off of you. And I also am curious to hear from everybody, like, if like what they think about it. And I'm sure, well, look, we all live in the same society. So I'm sure
Mhm.
people have developed tips and strategies. I would just be curious also to hear from
Yeah.
everybody. But
Yeah, totally,
um,
totally. I second that. Like, if anyone has feedback on this, I think this is like a conversation that could run like 1,000 miles.
yeah,
I don't, like clearly we didn't. I can't say like I feel like we did it justice, but like there's so much more to say on this. But I do think that we gave like practical takeaways. We gave a lot of compassion, and I also think like everyone struggles with their body image, just like everyone struggles with their like with anxiety on some level, right? Like I think that it's a spectrum, and like I think that people that struggle with body image somehow think it's only them, and they think that people that have like the ideal looks in the world, even those people struggle. Like honestly,
yeah,
like the models world are the people that struggle probably more than people that are not, quote unquote models. So like I want to
absolutely.
just space for that, not to minimize anything, but to realize like you are so not alone. I also was thinking that like we're having this conversation and it's all about like women body image stuff, but like for sure guys struggle with their body image too. I can't say like I'm an expert on guy body image, but like I just feel like probably a lot of the same things hold up for guys, and I know we have a lot of guy followers. So like if you do struggle with your body image, like you're so not alone, and definitely like any of these skills that apply, feel free to like use them. But it would be amazing to like have like a body image kind of like expert that like helps guys too, because I feel like it's so like our society is so skewed and like thinking only women struggle with body image, and
Right.
it's really not true.
Right. And we've been using female pronouns this entire conversation just
Mm-hmm.
because it's a lot more discussed, I would say, when it comes to women. But I completely agree with you. I think
Yeah.
men struggle so much with body
Mm-hmm.
image. Um, And also the other piece that you said about like models, like it happens to be like I've had some conversations with models
Mm-hmm.
before, and the thoughts that go on in their heads are
Mm-hmm.
the exact same thoughts that are being,
Discuss here.
shared with you on OK Clarity. Like
Yeah, yeah,
it's the same stuff. It's the
yeah.
same stuff.
Totally,
Yeah.
totally. So we're just like all the models. That's the bottom line.
Yes,
All
exactly.
fulfilling.
Faye, this has been lovely, lovely. Thank you to
Okay.
everybody for all your comments, questions,
Yes, thank you for being
and
so
support.
engaged.
So
Thank you,
appreciate that.
Michali, for being so like sharing and disclosing it in, of course, appropriate way. It was really amazing, and
Thank
that
you.
story was like, oh my God, incredible! Like, if, people should
Thank
just
you.
watch this live just
Oh
for
my
that
God.
story.
I still like laugh about it. I think it's just so characteristic. Like it's just so funny.
I'm just
It's
like
just
thinking,
so
like
funny.
sometimes I get these like weird thoughts of like in like Shemayim, like God was like, okay, this has to happen to somebody. We need to. Who should this happen to?
I'll
Michali.
be
It's
the
gonna
corban.
happen to Michali. It's gonna happen to Michali because she's the only one on planet Earth right now that can handle this in this way, and she's gonna be a model for how to navigate these conversations. And she's gonna share it on OK Clarity, and it's gonna go viral.
Thank
Like
you.
literally,
That's
that was like
so
that was like
sweet.
that was their like the orchestra. They were like, this has to happen to someone. Who should we pick? And they're like Michali. If that would have happened to me, like
That's
forget it.
so
Like I don't
sweet.
know what I would have done to myself.
Thank
Okay.
you. I so appreciate that. I had a good time with it. We got a lot of laughs out of it. I'm sure we'll continue to get a lot of laughs out of it. But I
Okay.
still laugh anytime I think about it. I'm just like,
Yeah,
that was ridiculous.
that's crazy.
Thank you.
Alrighty.
I
I
appreciate
love you
that.
tons, Michali. You
Love
know
you
that. Thank you, everybody,
too.
for
I will
tuning
see you
in.
next week.
See you next week.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Bye.